I'm Stephen Toope, and I'm very honored to serve as president of the University of British Columbia. I can say that my experience at Harvard was really wonderful, and one of the main reasons for that was that the fellow students were so dynamic. And I would think that that's probably a point of connection between Harvard and UBC. I've heard consistently, and from my own experience in the course of a year, I've learned that we have absolutely wonderful students, not just in terms of their academic abilities, but in terms of commitment to the world, commitment to changing the world. That was true at Harvard, so I think there's a connection there. I think it's complicated, and I'm very concerned about it. All of the survey information we have, both externally done and internally, tells us that we're not doing as well as we should. That said, it's a consistent problem with all large research-intensive universities. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have to act. We do. And there's a lot of work being done. I'll say more about that in a moment. But why it happens, I think it's partly because there are a lot of people who commute to campus. It's often harder for them to feel really engaged. Sometimes it's because classes are too large and not organized in the way they should be. Sometimes it's because advising isn't as strong as it should be. And so you look at all of these, and we're going to have to act in all of those areas. I think that if we can get it right, the University Boulevard project could be a tremendous enhancement to the student experience at UBC. One of the things that really strikes me coming from another institution, which was very focused in a downtown environment, is that you arrive at the UBC campus in a number of different places, and frankly, it doesn't necessarily feel like a university. Let me tell you a story. The first week that I was here, I was just walking around campus to try and orient myself a little bit. And I was standing right in front of our new life sciences building, which of course is a gem in the university, LEED Gold certified. We're very proud of it. So there I am standing in front of something that is the heart of life sciences, medicine and others. And these two guys come zooming up in a little red sports car, and they screech to a halt right in front of me. And one guy looks at me and says, "Where's UBC?" Well, I think that's a problem. I think there is a real sense of a lack of arrival. There's a sense that there aren't many spaces where students can gather, and there's clearly a lack of resources on campus to just serve student life, restaurants, some kinds of shopping experiences that would make it easier for students. So we also lack, of course, enough student accommodation, and that's part of the University Boulevard project as well. So I think the upside, potentially, if we get it right, is a lot more orientation when you arrive on the campus. We're also thinking of having an alumni student center, which will bring alumni and students together in mentoring arrangements. We're also looking at trying to increase the commitment to student housing. So that would be the good side. If we don't get it right, then we could have this big expanse that doesn't feel very welcoming to students. And if we did that, then we would have failed. You may know that the Board of Governors this year decided to put the whole upper part of the University Boulevard project on hold. I asked them to do that, specifically so that we could have a new, much more open consultation process. This has been going on for a long time. There have been many consultations, but I've heard pretty consistently that there's a sense in which, although there were consultations, they weren't as authentic as some students would obviously like. So we're going to go back to the drawing board. We're working with the AMS and with the Graduate Student Society to define new parameters for student consultation, which will take place this autumn. We're going to have public forums. We're going to have online availability in the same way that we have with the campus and community plan. When I say we're working with the AMS and the Postgraduate Society, we're working with them to design processes that will engage more students. We're not just doing the consultation internally to the organizations. Well, first, I think one has to be careful because you probably know that there were various court challenges launched against Coca-Cola, and one particularly in Florida, which was ultimately thrown out. So although there are lots of accusations, none of them have yet been fully supported by an independent evaluator. So I'm no defender of Coke for any particular reason, but I just want to make sure that we don't assume that there are breaches of human rights rules, environmental regulations when they haven't been shown. That having been said, I would say that it's not particularly important to me that the university engage in many agreements with consumer products firms. I'm actually personally somewhat concerned that we don't limit student choice in their access to consumer products. So I think that although universities the world around are entering into agreements with corporations for specific purposes, often, for example, to provide computer equipment or to provide equipment that manages our air conditioning and those kinds of things, I'm a little less keen on agreements that actually restrict student choice. I'll have a wish for UBC students, and it would be that when they graduate, when a student graduates, she or he will feel that their life has really been changed by the experience of being at UBC, that it's been a rich experience, that they've met loads of really interesting people, and that they've been fundamentally challenged to think about the world in new ways.